So I am going to go ahead and stop sharing that JPEG or that slide, and I am going to share LinkedIn. So if you have a computer, rather than me going through a PowerPoint, let's actually get into LinkedIn here. So I'm going to share my screen here so you can all see my LinkedIn. Nod to me if you can see my LinkedIn. I just want to make sure I'm sharing it correctly. Okay, awesome. So, oh yeah, awesome, great. So I'm actually in the chat box. I'm going to put a great link here that I use with my students. You know, just around LinkedIn usually posts, I mean, I'm sure if you're on LinkedIn, they post tons of great articles, tons of great resources. This is an updated article that they did just in February about how to optimize your profile. And so I've used this before, and it just kind of gives you like a little bit of a checklist, a couple things that I'll be going through here today. So, as Steve mentioned, my name is Jill Ponte. I am director of the Learner Career Services Center here at UD. I've been at UD now for about 13 years. I'm also an alumni. I received my master's degree here. And prior to that, I have worked I'm a return Peace Corps volunteer. I also am a former AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, and I also worked for the Bar Association in Dayton, Ohio. So I've definitely had quite a little bit of a different career, which is why whenever I talk to alumni and students, I'm always like, hey, your path should not be just a straight line. It should be all over the place. So, so most importantly, I definitely want to make sure that everyone is doing well. If you have any questions here, please go ahead and raise your hand. Please go ahead and, sorry, I'm, you know, working and taking care of kids, and my son is very curious about what I'm talking about here. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box and mute yourself. I'm going to try to go through LinkedIn, some best practices in the profile, some features on here, but then really want to answer your questions. I want to make sure that you know, we're taking this half an hour because I know everyone's attention span is definitely shorter these days. I know mine is when you have about 1 million distractions going on around you. So first and foremost, let's get right into LinkedIn. Oh, thank you. So this is when you go into LinkedIn here, this is kind of like the home page. So as you can see here, you can scroll, you can see what's going on here. I mean, it's a lot of, I love this because I usually go through this. I actually have the app on my phone. I didn't have the app for quite some time on my phone. I feel like they've made a lot of improvements to the app, so I have that now. It really keeps me up to date about what's going on with my colleagues, with students, with alumni, with people I follow, with groups, with employers who are making announcements. So what's nice is that, I mean, you know, you have these feeds that are very common to like Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram. So you have this sort of feed right here in LinkedIn. This is going to be a theme for me throughout this whole presentation. This whole here, if you've never clicked on start a post, I hope you all do that today. You are only going to get out of LinkedIn what you put into it. So if you are not sharing yourself, if you're not sharing your expertise, your interests, your goals, where you want to go, a cool article that you read that you thought would be really great for your network to read as well, you're doing yourself a disservice. You've got to put yourself out there. LinkedIn is not social media. I get that a lot from people saying, no, I don't do social media. I don't want to do that. No. LinkedIn is not social media. LinkedIn is a way for us to basically have our network and our Rolodex, okay, for our Gen Xers and for our baby boomers who know what a Rolodex is, at our fingertips. Yes, I like the hands raised here. I've actually had students ask me before what a Rolodex is. So Rolodex is that little thing that you twirl and you used to keep all your business cards in there. The premise behind LinkedIn, when Reid Hoffman created it, it was based on the theory of 6 degrees of separation. That is an actual theory, 6 degrees of separation, right? I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, right? We're all connected 6 degrees to each other. It's the Kevin Bacon game, again, for my generation. And so what Reid Hoffman found is he found that on LinkedIn that people are actually connected more by 3 or 4 and not 6. So he not only proved the theory, but he actually proved that it's much smaller. And so what LinkedIn is just a great way for us to professionally network and connect with each other. It's not social, it's professional networking. So if we get into, our profile, so not only just starting a post, sharing something that we're doing, we've got to share about ourselves as well. Click on that little me icon right here and you can view your profile. So this is where we're going to kind of get into it. You can certainly edit this banner back here. UD is definitely, I'm branded to UD. Think about what are the things that you're branded to. UD has been part of my life for a very long time. I'm an alum, I work there. Hopefully my kids will go there. So UD, I always have that as, I usually have something Blue Hen related in the background here in this banner. If you don't have one, that's okay. I think LinkedIn, uses like a standard blue mesh sort of background. Your photo has to be professional. And yes, you do need a photo. People believe that you are more trustworthy when you have a photo on LinkedIn. If you don't have a photo and then you start friending or you start sending connections, people are actually going to think, oh, this is a fake profile. I'm not going to accept this person. And this is not a picture of, this isn't like a graphic either. This isn't like, one of those avatars that you've created. This is an actual professional photo. You can do one. I did this with my husband the other day. He stood up against a plain wall because he was on a job search. He stood up against a plain wall. I snapped a picture with my iPhone. We uploaded it and boom, he had a professional photo. So you don't have to shell out tons of money to do that. The photo again should just be you. It shouldn't be you with a whole bunch of people. It shouldn't be you with your arm around somebody and then you've cropped off this part and now you have your face and your arm. I see people laughing there, so you know what I'm talking about, okay? So make sure that is just you. Have your name in here, Jill Gugino Ponte. You'll actually see up here in my URL, it's Jill Gugino Ponte. So you'll see on my Twitter, it's Jill Gugino Ponte. So again, just these little things about your brand here. And we'll talk about this URL here in a minute in case anyone is unsure about how to edit that URL. This part right here, this tagline, okay? I actually stole this, not the exact words, but I stole this sort of way of doing the tagline from a friend of mine who's in the same sort of industry that I am. I personally do not think in long sentences. I think in bullet points. So you'll actually see when we scroll down here to my about section, okay, which everyone should have, you see it's bulleted. It's not a long paragraph, but I mean, for me, there are certain words that really resonate with me: director, career coach, educator, service leadership, connector. These are words that resonated with me. And so that's what I have in my tagline. If you don't edit this part, it's going to default to whatever your current position is. So you do want to make sure that you are editing that tagline because you are more than your current position. Your brand, who you are, is more than what you're currently doing. So think about what are the words that you would describe your brand, and that's what you want to do here. You can see I've got 500 plus connections, and making sure this is something that you can always check under anyone's profile is their contact info. And you can see, at least for me, I have different ways of connecting with people, and you'll see my email address under there. Just as a follow-up, if you see somebody you wanted to connect to on LinkedIn, I want you to send them a message. But then if you really want to connect to them, check their contact info. Did they share a Gmail? Did they share their work email? That's fair game for you to contact them, okay? And I'll also talk about Career Shift if I forget, somebody asked me, because it's a great database that we offer our alumni and our students. And I would say about 80 to 90% of people's contact information is in there. It's in Career Shift. So remind me to talk about that. The About section, you need to have that on there, especially if you want your profile to be an all-star profile, okay? All these things that I'm talking about in here, you have to have on there. Your About section, again, people's attention span is very short these days. It should be probably about a paragraph. Who you are, what are your main skill sets, what are you looking to do? And especially if you're on the job hunt, make sure you put your contact information in there, okay? Add it underneath contact info, but also add it in your about section. How do people get in touch with you if they don't want to message you or just can't message you through LinkedIn? This part right here on your dashboard, this is an area, you know, this is certainly private to you. Sorry, I forgot to go back up here. If you're in the job market, I would make sure that you know that, or show that recruiters that you're open to work. In here, you can actually put in there the industries that you're interested in, the job titles that you're interested in, the company. So that way you're kind of setting up these alerts. You're notifying people behind the scenes that use the behind the scenes part of LinkedIn and the job search that you are open. There's also this thing going around where you actually have a little thing around your picture where it says open to work. So then it now out front, it puts you out there that, yes, I am open to work. So all those things, I mean, I think if you're not trying to keep your job search a secret, put it out there. If you're not searching for jobs, I don't have it on there, but I still am on LinkedIn every single day because I want to make sure I'm connecting and staying up to date in my industry and people who I'm talking with. You can see here, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I probably post about once a week. That's probably pretty standard. I think in my job, because I do a lot of webinars, so I bring a lot of alumni in or employers in. One thing that I really learned this past year is, you know, recognition to people, you know, recognizing people who helped you out. And so I'll tag them in my post saying, thank you so much for helping out our students. Thank you so much for coming to campus to recruit. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise in our webinar. So that's something that I've been really trying to be much more intentional about, is to publicly thank people, not just sending an email. What's interesting is that I had a student comment to me the other day that they follow me, and so they look at a lot of my posts. It has helped them with all these alumni that I've been thanking this past summer, because I'm doing this webinar series. They've actually then reached out to those alumni for help and assistance, because they were like, well, they're helping Jill out. Jill's thanking them publicly. They're liking Jill's comment. They're active. Maybe they'll help me. So it really kind of that mindset of like, wait a second, I can really use this tool here. So think about all these other people who are publicly acknowledging people, or you might have, you know, seen somebody like, you know, students are getting dean's lists, so they're posting about that, or they're getting job offers, or companies are putting out, you know, really messages of support, or they're announcing, you know, changes within their organization. Talk about that. Come on, we got to put ourselves out there. The only way that we can put ourselves out there, and then that way we can build our network and get help, especially if we're looking for a job. People are going to look at that. People are going to see that. The rest of your profile on LinkedIn is really going to be a cut and paste or a copy and paste of your resume, your experience, your education section, adding skills in here. So you can definitely add some new skills. I would definitely recommend at least having 5 or more relevant skills on here, especially if they're technical. So think about if it's Excel, or if it's you know, if you know, you know, if you're a DBA, so you might know some programming languages, if you're good at public speaking, all of those things, and then your contacts can also endorse you. Recommendations are always great as well. I've given a number of different recommendations. You can see here, I've probably not been so good at asking people for recommendations. That's probably more of a personal thing for me. But I'm always glad to give somebody a recommendation, especially if I've worked with them and they ask me to write one. I put in here, I do a lot of expert commentary in different publications, so I've added that to my LinkedIn. And then your interests, you know, this is really divided into your influencers, companies, groups, and schools. And we're going to get into schools here in a minute. So all of you should at least be following the University of Delaware as a school here. And I'll show you how to find that, and I'll show you a couple things here too. That's about what I'm going to go over in the profile. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to make sure that you're editing is the edit public profile and URL. Click on this right here on the right-hand side, okay? So right over here is where you can edit your URL. Typically, it's LinkedIn makes your URL like your name, and then followed by a whole bunch of numbers, letters, and maybe sometimes symbols. Get rid of those symbols. Just click on that pencil right there and you can edit this, okay? Brand it to your name. If you have a common name, I hear this quite often, if you have a common name, put a number in there. Or if maybe you have, you know, initials or letters after your name, you could put that in there. Or use a middle name or use a dot, you know, between the names. So just something to differentiate it, but definitely get rid of the numbers and the letters after that. That's not part of your brand. Okay, so let's go back into, let's get into some of the features here again, because I want to make sure I've got time for questions. Throw them in the chat box. So if you do have questions, throw them in the chat box. So then that way maybe I can get to them instead of unmuting yourself, because I do have the chat box open here if I'm going over something a little bit too quickly. The first thing that I'm going to make sure that you look at is University of Delaware. Whoops, I got to spell that correctly here. We are going to the school. We are not going to the groups yet, although there are tons of University of Delaware groups. There's also a University of Delaware employer, but we are going to the school. So I want you to click there on the University of Delaware school. What's great about the UD right here, and this actually is true for a lot of universities, so think if you're an alum at other universities here, you know, UD right now has over 136,000 alumni on LinkedIn. Whoa, that's a lot. I do not know that many people, but now I can, because right over here on the left-hand side, if you click on alumni, this is where I can drill down and actually search for people. I could search by a company name. I could search by location. I could search by a person's name. I get a lot of people, I'll just sort of do some, yesterday I was speaking with our Road to Wall Street students who definitely want to, some of them want to work at Goldman Sachs. So, well, what's better way to get into Goldman Sachs? Let's talk to our alum. How did our UD alumni get from UD to Goldman Sachs? So if I just type in Goldman Sachs right here, I hit enter, and we're going to scroll down, and now I've got a whole bunch of different alumni that I can connect to on at Goldman Sachs. One I know, I mean, Teo and I, we've known each other when he was a student here. So if we click on his profile, Teo, actually, I just spoke to last night. I can see what he's been at Goldman for almost 7 years. He was a finance and international business major here at UD. So I can start kind of getting to know a little bit. He was big brothers, big sisters. So I can kind of get to know him a little bit, as well as maybe, are there any connections that maybe he and I have? So if I, again, if with Teo, if I clicked on contact information, look, his Gmail's right there. You know what? I'm going to email Teo and say, you know what, Teo? I have always wanted to work at Goldman Sachs. I see you've worked there for the past 7 years. How did you do it, Teo? Do you have, 15 minutes to spare that we can talk over Zoom or a phone call? And I will tell you, Teo will do that in a heartbeat. I will say I've not met too many blue hens that say no. And maybe Steve can vouch for that as well. But I never met a blue hen that doesn't want to help another blue hen. So if you can really leverage this, these connections, you already have something in common. You have Main Street in common. You have the Blue Hen in common. You have Newark Deli and Bagel in common, okay? You've got Deer Park in common, okay? We can walk down memory lane while helping each other out. So that's first and foremost. University of Delaware, connect with those 135,000 alumni. And if you have this little thing in the back of your mind that says, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to bother anyone. Nope, Jill told you to get it, wipe it out of your mind and go and talk to somebody, go and email. I would say now more than ever, people want to help. They don't know how to help, but I guarantee you, if you reach out and ask them for help, they're going to want to help. It may just take a couple of emails. So that's why send a message. So if I wanted to connect to Teo, well, I'm already connected to him. Hold on. Let me go back to somebody. Whoops. All right. Let me go back to University of Delaware. Let me find somebody I'm not connected to. Let's see, got a lot of, okay. Let me go back to Goldman Sachs. I'm going to find somebody I'm not connected to. So we'll say Steven right here, I'm not connected to. So I can click on connect here. But again, make sure you add that note when you're sending a connection to somebody. I think it's imperative to have that note. Why are you connecting? I've always wanted to work at Goldman. We're both UD alum, hoping to connect. Send. Something real short and sweet. Why do you want to connect to them? All right. I do see a question in here from Josh. I see you have the paid version of LinkedIn. Do you recommend this for most people? So Josh, the reason I have the paid version is because it's part of my job. And so my job pays for the paid version of my LinkedIn. I would say do the 30-day free trial. I think it's worth it to try it out, to test it out, to actually see if it's worth your investment. I think for me, if I was doing a job search, I don't know if it would be worth my investment in LinkedIn. I think I would definitely do the 30-day paid version just to kind of see, because then you get the LinkedIn Learning. You get a lot of other features within LinkedIn just for that 30 days. I think you can get what you need. But because we have we have Career Shift, that would be really where I would spend my time, because I can take Steven's name that he works at Goldman. I can plug him into Career Shift, and 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to find his work email address. I am on my work email all the time. And so this is a great way. If you're going to connect to somebody on LinkedIn, that's great. But if they're not checking their LinkedIn messages, I guarantee you they're checking their work emails. And so that way, if you can find their work email address, then you can send them an email. CareerShift is a database. If the email is anywhere out there public, CareerShift is going to have it. So that's why I would recommend that. And just as a tip, a lot of companies have some sort of method or a pattern to their email. So like with Goldman, it's typically the person's first name dot last name at gs.com. So you could probably figure that out for a lot of companies as far as their email pattern. So Josh, I would recommend doing the 30-day trial, see if it's worth your investment. I want to go to the jobs part right here. If you're looking for a job, obviously LinkedIn is it's in my top 4 to go to in looking for a job. Handshake would be one of them. Career Shift would be another one. Career Shift is not just a contacts database, but it's a jobs and internship database. LinkedIn would be my 3rd, and my 4th would be directly on the company website. Those are pretty much the 4 places I would go to look for a job or an internship. With LinkedIn, you can set up job alerts. LinkedIn is actually doing a much better job in the past year or so. They're looking at salary. So I know that's always something you should be going into a job interview, at least knowing what you're worth and knowing what your range is. So I think LinkedIn is doing a great job of that. The one thing that I also love about LinkedIn, so say if we look at, I don't know, we'll look at a marketing position, and we'll do it in New York. We'll just, let's see, we'll do in the New York City area here. LinkedIn, you can really drill down here into a lot of different features. And what I like about this in particular is the experience level. And so if you are looking for entry level, associate, mid-level, if you're looking for an internship, this is really where, I mean, when I clicked on marketing, it was 27,000 results. Well, maybe I'm looking more for an entry level position, so that I can apply that. And now it kind of drills down a little bit more. So that's the other thing that I really like about the jobs portal within LinkedIn, is that you can really drill down into experience level. But again, I mean, jobs is just a great feature on LinkedIn. And I would say more and more companies, when you think about the LinkedIn feature, they're doing like the easy apply. It'll tell you how many applications, if it's in your network. So there's some great features around just the job search in general. All right, I know there's more that I can certainly look into or that I want to go into, but I know we've got about probably less than 5 minutes. And so I wanted to take questions from anyone, or maybe did I went over something too quickly and maybe you need clarification on anything. Are there questions from people? I know I kind of did the high level, the quick features, things of that nature, which is really, again, what we're looking for. But I really cannot stress enough. You need to be active. You need to be posting. You need to be sharing yourself, and you need to be connecting. So I think we have about 27 people on this call. If I don't have 27 messages of people wanting to connect to me on LinkedIn, I have failed you. I want you to send me a message. Jill, great webinar, best I've ever attended. Would love to connect, okay? So I really want to see those messages, and I want to see people connecting to me. LinkedIn is my largest platform. I have over 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. So I love building my connections there, and then I love being able to share my voice and the things that I'm passionate about on that. So hopefully I can get those messages out, you know, to people and to the things that are important for me. So what questions do you have? I'll shut up now, or I'll be quiet right now, but what questions do you have? So Jordana has, does LinkedIn still feature causes, and how important is this to have on a profile? Great question. I never really got too involved in causes. I don't know if that was, let's just say if they still do have that as a feature. I've not seen it. I've not seen it in my network. I've not seen it sort of explode and blow up. I don't know if other people have. I do think that causes are certainly important. And I think that you have to be very, I think you have to, that has to be individual to you. I will tell you the things that you'll probably see on mine, on my profile that are very important to me are professional development, our emotional intelligence. So basically making sure that we are being better people all the time. Women's leadership, you'll always see stuff on there, me posting about women's leadership. And a lot of times you will see me posting around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those are things that I'm very passionate about. What are you passionate about? I mean, I think if there are causes that you are passionate about, then put that out there. That's going to help you connect with a whole bunch of other people that may not be in your immediate network. I was on a webinar a couple of weeks ago. I was doing the Millennial Summit. And there was a great conversation I got into with one of the attendees, and the topic was really about, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? We've all heard that sort of saying. Well, if who I know is limited, are we doing ourselves a disservice as far as building and increasing our network? When you think about, if I'm a hiring manager and I'm only, you know, hiring people of who I know, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to work. You know, so we've got to make sure that we are always, we've got EQ, right? We've got emotional intelligence. We've got to make sure that we are checking ourselves, holding ourselves accountable, and utilizing LinkedIn being one of them, a way to expand our networks. And so if there are great things if there are things that you are passionate about, then make sure that you are joining groups on LinkedIn, that you are following the influencers on those causes. So that's all that I can really say about that. Let's see, Sanika says, when connecting with people, should you connect with everyone you know to begin with, or should you only connect with people who have the same professional goals and background as you? For example, someone with the same major works at a company you want to work at. Sanika, my answer is connect to everyone and anyone. Connect with your family, your friends, your classmates from high school, your old college roommates. Connect with people that you work with. Connect with the person that you just met at the grocery store that you had a nice conversation with. Connect to people that you saw in a webinar that you know, you all kind of have this interest because you want to learn about LinkedIn. So don't just connect to me. Don't just connect to Steven. Connect to each other. I can go over your profile here and I can see your name. So let's connect to people who we're also in a webinar with. So I would say don't limit, especially in the beginning when you're really trying to build and expand your network. Don't limit yourself. I would try to connect with everyone. But again, personalize that message so people understand why you are connecting to them. You have great tips for those entering the job market. This comes from Barbara. Any tips for more seasoned job seekers? Yes, Barbara. Same rules apply if you are just starting out or if you are a seasoned job seeker. It is about connecting. To me, I look at the job search as 80% networking, 20% actually applying. And that is true. I don't care wherever you're in your career. So if you are spending the majority of your time by yourself behind the computer, you're doing it wrong. We've got to get you out there. I would say at least, you know, a handful of times a week should be these Zoom chats, one-on-one. I mean, we can't go out to coffee anymore. You know, we can't go to these big, large networking events. But the one nice thing, at least, you know, out of COVID, I guess if you can, you know, look at some of the positives, is that a lot of professional associations now are much more reachable for people. So, you know, professional associations that may only meet in California and you do not have the budget, they're all going online now. And now they're opening up to everyone. And so now you have the opportunity to attend this conference that you've never been able to attend before. So really think about, are you alone behind your computer, you know, 5-6 days out of the week, okay? Or are you talking to somebody? Are you interacting with somebody? And that's what we want to do. Think about, you know, go and look at people who are in your industry who might have had a similar career path and then maybe shifted. Find those people who have a similar path as you. Go find them, connect to them on LinkedIn, and get on the phone or a Zoom call and talk to them. How did they shift? What are some of the strategies that they used? Who are the people that they spoke to? What were the different, you know, who are the different people that they spoke to? Where are the different job sites that they went to? What are the different webinars or professional associations that they went to? So any sort of advice that you can get from other people, let's do that. Jill mentioned, oh yeah. Thanks, Steve, for adding that in that. Is it useful to connect, this is from Chris, or CJ actually, is it useful to connect with people with a mutual connection you may not know? Absolutely, but again, put the reason. Why do you want to connect to them? You want to connect to them just to connect? I don't know if I'm going to accept that connection. Do you want to connect to them because you have something in common? So if you do have something in common, then what is that? And what do you want to get out of that connection? Or why really do you need that connection? So again, don't just blind connect to people, really put some forethought into that. And why do you want to do that? Rachel said, what resources do you recommend for creating your own brand? And her second part of the question, should all articles, posts reflect your current position, or can they be resources from any area of interest? Rachel, I'll answer the second part of that real quick. Yes, your post could be your own words, but then your post could also be you sharing an article that you read that really resonated with you. But just don't share it. Share it and say why it resonated with you. So it doesn't have to be original content that you are putting out there in the beginning. You can just share things that really resonated with you that you are now taking for yourself, and that you're using to build yourself. So, you know, so kind of then to go on to your first question, what resources do you recommend for creating your own brand? There are a lot of resources out there. Go find them, go repost them so other people can do that. I will tell you I follow Brene Brown. I would make sure I would recommend her. I think she's fantastic. I also follow different articles around Fast Company. They do a lot of professional development. Let's see, the Muse does a lot of, posts a lot of professional development articles, and especially around professional brand. The Balance also does a lot of, or posts a lot of articles around professional development. So think about some of these areas that you can follow. I follow them mostly on Twitter. And so they have tons of articles and things that I then actually will repost and share with my followers as well. So the whole branding thing could be a whole other area, but I think first and foremost with branding, whenever I do a presentation on branding, you got to start with yourself first. If you don't know who you are, then it's really hard to share that with others. So there's a lot of resources out there that I you know, I definitely would be willing to talk offline if you wanted to figure out kind of who you are first off. And then the last question, I know we're kind of over on time here, comes from Sean. When reaching out to a hiring manager, potential new employer, how would you begin the conversation? So that's a great question. What I would recommend is keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Okay, we do not have time to read a long email. We do not have time. We've got about, when you think about, of if you're sending something to somebody, they're reading about 18% of it. Okay. So if you're sending a long paragraph, I'm reading 2 sentences of that paragraph, or maybe 1 sentence. So it's got to be short, sweet, and to the point. You've got to say, you've got to state who you are, real quick, why you're writing them. I'm interested in your company, or I am interested in applying to this position. And then really, what do you want to do for the follow-up? Okay, do you want a phone call? Do you want them just to review? Here's my resume. I've attached my resume. I wanted to reiterate my interest in the position that I applied to on such and such a date. Or do you want to set up a call with them to learn more about the company and position? So again, just be short, sweet, and direct. I'm a very direct person, so I want to make sure I'm always advising other people to be direct as well. Rachel, I know you talked about career shift, reviewing career shift. If you go into, I can send it to Stephen afterwards. And maybe he could send it out to attendees. But if you go into Handshake, so Handshake is our database here at University of Delaware. So you do need to go into Handshake. And when you click into Handshake, you click on Career Center. And then under Resources, you'll find Career Shift and the directions on how to log into that. Yes, Brene Brown. Yes, Julia. Yep, Marketing Contacts, Brene Brown, The Muse. The Balance, and I would also add in there Fast Company. I follow them quite a bit, and they post a lot of great articles. Forbes also does a really good job of posting out a lot of professional development resources as well. So again, I apologize. I know that I went a bit over on my time today. I wanted to do just a quick, fast, Q&A session on LinkedIn. I'm putting my email address in there for everyone. So feel free to follow up with me with any questions. Learner Career Services Center, the Central Career Services Center, we are open. We've never shut down. So we are open. We work with students. We work with alumni. So we're going to tell you, get into Handshake, get on our schedule, connect with us. So once you're in Handshake, you're going to get, a lot of different resources such as Career Shift. It's a jobs and database. You'll also find out when we have our upcoming career fairs for this fall. And also there's tons of jobs and internships on there and other networking events. So make sure that you're getting into Handshake as an alum. It's free for you. So why not add another resource to your list of resources, if you will. But definitely want to make sure, I hope to connect with you on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email if you have any follow-up questions. And I just thank you all so much for taking the time to talk with me and to listen to what I have to say today.
Thank you so much, Jill. We really appreciate it. I did add into the chat window the website where this webinar and others are going to be located on our Alumni Relations website. So please feel free to check that out afterwards. It will probably not be up today, but probably by tomorrow. And then, excellent tips. And I hope that this was helpful. We look forward to having more conversations like this on other various topics as well. So feel free to keep reaching out and looking for these upcoming events.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Have a great day, everyone.